Jolteon sure is a speedy Pokemon, but how fast can it beat Pokemon Yellow? It has great special, but will its electric typing hold it back from a first place finish? And how will it compare against the other Eeveelutions? Let's get into it. Jolteon is incredible in Gen 1, and it has awesome special, which is both offensive and defensive, so it has some good potential to do really well today. The developers must have considered it the strongest because when you fight the rival and win both in the lab and on Route 22, you'll actually be facing Jolteon, which they considered the hard team. This is mostly because of the moveset. Thunder is an awesome hard-hitting move with low accuracy, but still very strong for Jolteon. We probably won't be using it today, but Thundershock does work really well for the early game. It's great special damage, it's got stab, and it can knock things out really quickly. After fighting the rival on Route 22 for extra experience that we're going to need for Brock, we can find a Pidgey, which we can catch and name Kangaskhan. Thank you so much Kangaskhan for commenting and watching the videos. Go check out his channel if you want to see some deep dives on Pokemon maths and stats behind these Gen 1 games. It's all very interesting. So we're trying to get as much experience as quickly as possible for Brock. I fought every trainer in the forest that was available, and I'm fighting the Light Years trainer as well here. He's called the Light Years trainer because of his dialogue, and he does resist Jolteon. In fact, I can't use electric types on any ground types, and that will be the biggest issue with Jolteon's playthrough today. And while Brock may seem like the perfect counter to Jolteon in the early game, we do have Sand Attack and Tail Whip. These are going to be incredible moves as we get into the game, both for reducing the consistency of enemy Pokemon and lowering defense so that our Quick Attack or other physical moves can deal decent damage. And that's our plan today against Brock. We need to use Sand Attack to make sure that they can't hit us very much because Jolteon's defense is quite low. We need to use Tail Whip to get over the resistance that Rock has to normal type moves in order to deal even hardly any damage. You can see on the first turn against Onix, I accidentally used Quick Attack and it literally does 1 damage. That's not gonna work. We gotta use Tail Whip and Sand Attack in order to slowly weaken this Onix so we can actually beat it. Luckily, once we're fully set up with 6 Tail Whips, we actually do decent damage as long as we don't crit. Crits in Gen 1 will bypass that setup, so I'll do less damage with a crit than I would just with a regular Quick Attack. It may seem weird, but that's going to be important for these rock types. These status moves do help us beat Brock very consistently at level 13. We might be able to do it at a lower level, but it would be pretty risky, so I think that level 13 is a good place to be at. After that, the rest of the early game is a breeze. Even just having Thundershock, it's not Thunderbolt or Thunder, but it still does good damage in the early game, and it makes quick work of all of these teams, including the Bug Catchers, and even the Super Nerd in Mount Moon. What's nice is it also has 30 PP, so it's not going to run out while training, and we don't have to worry about conserving it through Mount Moon or even on Nugget Bridge. Speaking of which, as we get to Cerulean City, we're actually going to go straight to Misty. This is because obviously we have the advantage for typing here, and Jolteon has great special, so even though Bubble Beam is a pretty good move, because we're not weak to it, and our special is so high, we actually won't take that much damage, so I'm not that worried about it. And in fact, Misty is a breeze. Just a single hit on Staryu and then 2 hits on Starmie. Even at a fairly low level, this really sets us up for a much better fight against the rival too, because now we have all this extra experience. After we pick up the rare candy behind the house here in Cerulean, we can head over to him. And Blue here does have one problem for us that I'm a little bit worried about. It's not Spearow, it's Sandshrew. Sandshrew is going to take several hits in order to take out, and it does have Sand Attack. Now, we have it today as well, so I'm going to try to use it as much as I can to avoid these type of things. But Sand Attack in Gen 1 is really problematic at times and can make fights actually really inconsistent if we get hit even once. I do plan on using Sand Attack for the entire run, so I think we're going to get our revenge against the rival and hit him with Sand Attacks as well. And then we can clear Nugget Bridge, which is not a problem at all, and we can go get Charmander. Today we're going to name Charmander after the Fiery Brib. Thank you so much for commenting and giving the feedback on the overlay. As you can see, the overlay has had a bit of an update today, and it looks nice and refined. Thank you so much for all the feedback and support. After getting Charmander, we'll actually skip the Thunderwave TM. I considered using this, but I couldn't find a real reason that we needed it, so I'm not going to use it today. Instead, we'll go to Bill's house, and we'll save him from his weird experiment, and we'll get our SS Ann ticket. Did anybody else feel jealous of Blue in these games that he got to see the collection that Bill had and we don't? You don't even have the option to see it? I really wonder what Pokemon he actually had. After that, we head to Vermilion City and we will be boarding the SS Ann. And here we're actually going to fight a few trainers we don't usually fight. This is because I want to be a little bit higher level for Rock Tunnel, which we'll see in a bit. But I fight some extra Sailors here because the water Pokemon are very easy for Jolteon. And we pick up Rest and the items here on the bottom floor. And we pick up our rare candy in the gentleman's room, and then we head over to fight the rival. And now with Body Slam added to our moveset, we now have a much better answer for both Sandshrew here, but also Lieutenant Surge that will be coming up soon. Overall, Thundershock is still the better move here, as you can see against Eevee. but Body Slam is decent physical damage and is really reliable since it has 100% accuracy and it can inflict paralysis, so it's a good addition. We can beat the rival and watch the SSN sail off into the distance, and we can think about what's coming up next. I don't think Surge is going to be that hard, but I do think we have some challenges coming. As we start our battle in the Vermilion gym, I will plan on using some sand attacks here, at least one. I accidentally use Thundershock right away, which is a total mistake, and then I get hit by a crit and almost get taken out in one shot. But luckily with sand attack and some luck, we can make it through that fight, but man, that was not a good start to that fight. And now we're going to add Thunderbolt to our moveset, which is going to be our go-to move for most of this playthrough. Jolteon is really incredible with this move. It's really sad that unfortunately it doesn't learn it in its level up moveset. It only learns Thunder, which is really powerful, but the accuracy is just not good. We pick up Squirtle and name it Ryoma. Thank you, Ryoma, for commenting on the channel and supporting. Thank you so much. You're awesome. We can head back to Cerulean and pick up our bike, and then we can start heading toward Rock Tunnel. So we can see here on the Pokemon card that Jolteon is now level 27. As we head into the battle with the Wrapping Lass, I am a little bit worried about Body Slam not having the damage I need to take out her grass Pokemon in one hit. This is a problem because if we get paralyzed, like we do right at the beginning, it means that Wrap can continuously trap us and we could actually lose just to a million wraps in a row, which is the worst way to lose a fight. Luckily here I still have Quick Attack, and this is very intentional because Quick Attack will bypass that speed drop from paralysis, and I'll actually be able to still have priority over the grass Pokemon. And this means that even with paralysis, I can actually knock out the Bellsprouts and they can't actually trap me in Wrap forever. After that, I fight the regular bug catcher here, but then I also fight this Meowth trainer for a little extra experience, as well as the Jigglypuff and Clefairy trainer. This is because I want to be level 30 by the time we get to the self-destructing hiker. That guy is going to be an issue if we're not at least level 30. We can head into Rock Tunnel, and we do have another challenge here before we get to him. Any of these super nerds with a Cubone can be really scary because of Bone Club. This deals super effective physical damage and is really not good for Jolteon. Luckily, the Slowpokes go down to Thunderbolt really easily, so it's not too bad. I do fight this junior trainer before the self-destructing hiker. Now, I normally would dodge her, but we need that little bit of experience. Unfortunately, we don't quite get it after beating her, and I go to check the experience on Jolteon, and it's 6 experience short. I was just a little bit off. So I go ahead and find a Geodude in the wild just to knock out, just so we can get a little bit more experience and get to level 30, and that'll give us Double Kick. Now this is an awesome answer for all of those rock types that Jolteon would normally struggle against. It's not super powerful, but it is much better obviously than Body Slam, and Thunderbolt will do nothing. So it's our really only answer for the self-destructing hiker, besides also just sand attacking him and hoping self-destruct misses. Unfortunately on the first attempt, I get hit by a self-destruct from Geodude, and then I use a bunch of sand attacks on Graveler, it hits that self-destruct, and Jolteon goes down. It just all comes down to luck. On the second attempt, I knock out the first Geodude. The second one does not go down to Double Kick, even though my crit chance is pretty good on Jolteon. But luckily, against the Graveler, like I said, that crit chance is pretty good. We can get that crit. So that's the first of the major challenges that Jolteon has been able to beat. It still has a few more that I'm really worried about later in the game. With that, we're on to Celadon City. We can do all of our errands and pick up some items like the PP ups and some valuable items in the Rocket Hideout in order to sell them. I'm going to want some vitamins in order to help Jolteon get through the game. The champion fight is going to be brutal, so I want to prepare as much as possible for that. I make sure to get our beverage from the top floor. I also pick up a couple of TMs here in order to sell, and then I can buy my vitamins. I'm going to get mostly proteins and a couple of irons. This might seem weird for Jolteon because, you know, it's a special attacker. Why would it need so much protein? Well, we need to hit harder with Body Slam, and we need to resist the ground moves as much as possible because they're going to be our biggest weakness today. We pick up Fly and we can head over to Lavender Town. We're going to have another rival battle here, but as always, this one is a breeze. The only way he would be hard is if you went here first out of Rock Tunnel instead of going to Celadon, but it just doesn't make sense to go here, then backtrack, then back again. It's much better just to do all of the errands, come back to him, and just sweep his team. Thunderbolt is obviously great here because besides Sandshrew, it can knock out all of his Pokemon and make this just so quick. After defeating him, we can go save Mr. Fuji and get the Poke Flute, and we can head over to Celadon again. I am level 34 going into her gym, but I fight every single trainer because I want to be level 36 for Erica. And that is because I want a specific move for her, and that's Pin Missile. Jolteon is only one of 2 Pokemon that learns this in Gen 1. It's Beedrill and Jolteon. Yeah, not Pinsir, not Scyther, none of the other bug Pokemon. It's Jolteon that gets Pin Missile, which I get. I mean, it's supposed to be like kind of like a porcupine, I guess. But what's good is bug moves are super effective against both poison and grass types, so it will deal awesome damage against Erica. Unfortunately, unless the Pokemon is double weak to Pin Missile, it's just not as good an option as Body Slam in any other fight. Even Koga, who is weak to it, would just take more damage from Body Slam, and it is more accurate to use than Pin Missile, so it's just a better option besides Erica. After beating Erica, we can go complete the Cycling Road, where I'm going to train up a little bit more, and we're going to get to level 40. Once I'm level 40, I head to Fuchsia City, and I complete the Safari Zone and pick up all of the items, the vitamins, the gold teeth, and Surf. With that, I have everything I need to head back to Saffron City and go to fight the rival in the Silph building. First, I'm going to grab all the vitamins and the rare candy in Silph Company, and then I'm going to fight the trainer in order to get to the card key. Once I have the card key, I can head over and start the rival battle. Now this is suddenly where the rival becomes much harder. He now leads with a Sand Slash. This thing is Jolteon's nightmare. It has great defense, so it doesn't take a ton of damage from Jolteon's physical moves. Pin Missile is kind of useless in this fight now. It will be replaced with Mimic here pretty soon, but it's just kind of dead weight on my moveset at this point. Body Slam is just the best option. Thunderbolt is still good for both Ninetales and Cloyster. Body Slam actually one-hits Kadabra, which I wasn't sure would happen, but that's really awesome. And then when I face his Jolteon, I just have better stats, I have better movesets, I'm going to win this battle every time. And with that, we've beat him on the first attempt. Up to this point, our only reset has been to the self-destructing hiker. But another challenge awaits us here in Silph Company, and that's Giovanni. I did do a playthrough of this before this one, but I made a mistake and I had to pause for some technical issues, and I didn't restart the recording, so I didn't have it on record at all. But my last time against Giovanni, I literally lost like 4 times, and on the first reset, I hadn't saved after the rival, so I had to rebattle the rival and Team Rocket and then Giovanni. So that was just a nightmare, and it was really disappointing. Giovanni's actually kind of tricky here because both Rhyhorn and Nidoqueen don't take any damage from Thunderbolt, and Body Slam is resisted by Rhyhorn, so setting up Sand Attack against Rhyhorn and then just using Body Slam is the best tactic. If I had kept Double Kick, it would have done better damage against Rhyhorn, but it actually isn't good against Nidoqueen because the Poison type resists the Fighting type, which I didn't realize going into this, but then my last playthrough when I still had Double Kick, I realized it was kind of useless against the Nidos. So I chose to keep Pin Missile instead because it actually is better against the Nidos than Double Kick, and I feel like the Rhyhorns are not the biggest concern. Luckily in this playthrough, I only lose once to Giovanni, which is still not great. Poor Jolteon. Most Pokemon have no issue with him. But now that we have him defeated, we can head over to Koga's gym. What's nice is that Jolteon doesn't have a weakness to Psychic moves. Despite Koga being the Poison type gym leader, his Psychic moves won't deal that much damage to Jolteon, and Venonat and Venomoth just aren't very good Pokemon. So Thunderbolt does great damage here. Thunderbolt is just Jolteon's best move. Once we've defeated Koga, that gives us our speed badge boost, and we'll actually have all of them except the special boost, which I would get from Blaine, but I will be beating Blaine as number 7 today because Sabrina's just going to be much easier overall. I'm very confident heading into the Sabrina fight because I'm going to easily outspeed all of her Pokemon, which is really rare. Jolteon is just insanely fast. In fact, I contemplated skipping all the Carbos. I think at this point I don't even need them, but I was just picking them up out of habit just in case because I didn't want to get outsped. But looking at my stats here in both this fight then in the Blaine fight later, I realized that I could have just skipped them. I didn't need them in order to outspeed every Pokemon in the game, including Lance's Aerodactyl, which is the fastest Pokemon. Luckily, physical damage is really good against Sabrina, but against Blaine, it's not quite as good. We head to him next after completing the Pokemon Mansion, and I realize the confusion is going to be an issue. I still have Pin Missile here, which is now completely useless at this point, so I'm going to teach Mimic instead. It's just a better move for coverage because I can steal moves that I don't have access to, as well as it's just great for status conditions like Confuse Ray that I can grab and use against Blaine. This will really help even the playing field as far as the confusion tactics and things like that. I still get confused in that first battle, and the confusion luck does not go my way. Against Ninetales, I take some hard physical hits, then I can eventually take myself out with confusion damage. Sadly, that's now 2 losses against Blaine, and I'm really disappointed there. Last time I had no issue in this fight at the same level. I'm just getting such bad luck with confusion and the statuses and him setting up. It just isn't going my way, unfortunately. We go back in. I feel like I'm just a few attacks away from winning this. It should be pretty easy. I make it all the way to Arcanine on this attempt, but then it takes me out after using Reflect. I don't want to use my rare candies though because I'm saving those for later. I need to be a high level for both Giovanni and the champion, so I don't want to use those yet. Luckily in my next attempt, after I beat Ninetales, I am quite low, but my Confuse Ray works, and then I can set up Sand Attack to make the Arcanine even less consistent. which is awesome. Blaine's Arcanine does love setting up Reflect, and so after its accuracy has been dropped, I should just resort to using Thunderbolt. It's going to be better than Body Slam, and I can finally take the win. 5 resets though after Blaine. That's a little bit disappointing. But with that, we're ready to go fight the last gym battle against Giovanni. And this will definitely be Jolteon's hardest gym battle. After only the required gym trainers here, I'm level 49. I then use all of my rare candies to be level 60 going into his fight. I have insane speed, so the Dugtrio and the Persian cannot outspeed me. What is unfortunate is that Dugtrio doesn't go down to a single body slam. It can deal a ton of damage to me. I can use a combination of Sand Attack and Double Team that I can steal from Persian in order to prevent taking more damage as I set up. Once I have a +6 evasion and I have all these badge boosts stacked up, I'm ready to go against the Nidos. Now these things can be really scary because they have Earthquake and they hit really hard. But in this fight, Giovanni actually has guard specs that can be useful. I didn't know what these did as a kid. I thought they were just a waste of time, but actually they prevent your Pokemon's stats from being dropped. So I can't use Sand Attack once Giovanni uses a guard spec on that Pokemon, and that's actually a little bit scary. Because I'm relying on Double Team and accuracy strats here, I can actually drop Rhydon's accuracy even more with Sand Attack, at least a few times before Giovanni can use a guard spec here, and that will mean he has a very slim chance of being able to hit with Earthquake. Now that we've defeated him, the gym challenge is completed. I have all my 8 gym badges there above my Pokemon card, and we can head over to fight the rival on Route 22, the last major fight before the Elite Four. He still leads with Sand Slash, but luckily this thing does not have Earthquake, so I can Steel Slash if I wanted to. It deals more damage than Body Slam. It doesn't deal paralysis, but the crits are just great. And with that, I can actually take his team out pretty quickly. Thunderbolt is great against Cloyster. Only issue here is if Execute paralyzes me. Luckily that doesn't happen today. I can make it to Jolteon, and then Slash and Body Slam are great options here that he doesn't have access to. So I definitely have the better Jolteon here. After that, we can start the Elite Four. I head in and wait. I'm missing a very important thing. I don't have Reflect. And I dropped a save after walking into Lorelei's room. So I'm gonna have to white out and head back to Celadon. That's my mistake. I won't hold that against Jolteon, but I definitely need that for the league. I don't quite need it yet for Lorelei, but it will be very important later. Now in our actual Lorelei attempt, Jolteon does great. Thunderbolt is so strong here. The only one that actually can survive it really is maybe Slowbro and Jinx, but they can't deal a ton of damage to me, and it's actually just kind of an easy sweep. That's not always the case against Lorelei, so it's nice to just be able to take her out and not rely on Mimic strategies or Amnesia, and just win straight out here. And then there's Bruno, which I would normally play some goofy music and just kind of like make a joke about him, but let's be real, he's kind of a good trainer against Jolteon. I mean, not that he's good. His typing is much better. Onixes have great defense. They actually both have really good ground type moves in Yellow. The first has Dig and the second has Earthquake. While the first one can't really hit Dig because I know when it's coming and I can take out the Hitmons really easily, the second Onix actually has Earthquake and it can surprise me and almost take me out. Bruno almost got the win here, even though he could have just had an easy win if he was any good. Bruno is pretty terrible, so he doesn't do that and we can get through. And with that, it's time for Agatha. And Jolteon actually is pretty set up for success here as well. We can use Mimic to steal Substitute, which we can use to avoid all of the confusing tactics that Agatha likes to throw out. It doesn't make us totally immune, but it really makes it much easier to make it through this fight without getting messed up by statuses. And Thunderbolt actually does great damage against the ghosts. They do have high special, but Jolteon is just really quite strong. It's kind of a classic glass cannon situation, but with Substitute, we have an extra barrier, so it does very well in this fight. After we take out her final Gengar, we can start thinking about the next battle for Lance. Now often with Lance, electric Pokemon do very well because he has a lot of flying type Pokemon on his team, not dragon types, which I mean, he does have Dragonairs and a Dragonite, but once you get to the second Dragonair, you can steal Ice Beam, and Jolteon has no problem doing that today, so the rest of his team is just very, very easy. With that, we've completed the Elite Four, and we now have the champion, but I am extremely worried about this fight. So in preparing for this, I wanted to find a strategy that would allow Jolteon to get through this game as quickly as possible. Now there are two options for Sand Slash in this champion fight. We can either overlevel and get to level 70 or 75 and try to survive multiple hits from Earthquake in order to get to the Alakazam. I didn't want to have to overlevel. I know that watching Scott's Thoughts playthrough and other playthroughs I've seen, they relied on Reflect, Rest, and Thunderbolt in order to get through this fight. I wanted to do this at a lower level, and it might be riskier, but it may be possible for Jolteon to get a really good time by doing this tactic. And that's using Reflect, Rest, Body Slam, and Sand Attack. No Thunderbolt, which is kind of dumb. Let's be honest, it's a pretty dumb strategy. The main problem is that Reflect and Rest are required in order to get past Sand Slash. There's really no world in which Jolteon makes it through that without those two moves. I then need some kind of physical damage in order to take out Sand Slash. Thunderbolt will do nothing. So I need either Mimic or Body Slam. I went with Body Slam because I was having some PP issues with Mimic, so Body Slam's the way to go. We don't want those happening here. And then I kept Sand Attack. Now this might be weird at face value, so the tactic is this. I need to Sand Attack Sand Slash, and it needs to miss one of the first 3 Earthquakes. At which point the Sand Attacks can start to stack up, and it'll start missing more and more. With Reflect, I can survive 2, but not 3 Earthquakes. Meaning I can't rest without him missing at least 1 Earthquake, because then I'll get taken out. After 12 resets, we can finally have a good example here of what I'm talking about. With enough luck with Sand Attack, we can get past the Sand Slash. At which point we can use Body Slam on Alakazam. That's not an issue. We are slightly low health, and going into the Executor, I can heal up here, but the main problem is I cannot be hit by Leech Seed. If I get hit by Leech Seed, it's kind of game over. I had that happen and realized that Cloyster just heals so much. Since I don't have Thunderbolt to take it out, if I get hit by Leech Seed, that's a reset. But with Sand Attack, I can avoid Leech Seed. I can Sand Attack the Cloyster as well, just to limit the number of Ice Beams that can hit me. I don't want to get frozen. And then I can use Body Slam to knock it out. Ninetales takes pretty similar damage from Body Slam and Thunderbolt because it does have high special as well. And then obviously against Jolteon, it can't really do anything to me. I can heal up with Rest, and then it's really just an easy win at that point. So as long as I can make it to Jolteon, everything's good. And finally, we can make it through level 67 on the level up right at the end. So level 67, Jolteon finishes the game at 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 8 seconds, with a game time of 4 hours and 14 minutes. With better luck at the champion, I feel like this tactic could easily get under 1 hour and 10, and I feel like maybe even faster than that. But for an electric Pokemon, Jolteon did very well. It was a little bit of a struggle at some points, but it really put in the work. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more weekly Pokemon content. There will be more coming soon, but for now, have a wonderful day.